Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. One of the most iconic lines of any movie ever. It originated with 1988's Die Hard, which we've reviewed on this channel. It got a 7.5. Well, everyone, it's Justin. I'm back. Series Review Monday. I decided, you know what? We're going to go head on into the Die Hard franchise. Today, 1990's Die Hard 2 Die Harder. Bruce Willis is still yippee-ki-yaying in this one. There's a lot to like about Die Hard 2. There really is. For starters, most of the main cast from the first one is back in this one. So you have Bruce Willis. You have Bonnie Bedelia as Holly. You have Reginald VelJohnson as Al Powell. You bring back William Atherton. That's your main cast. Now, that being said, VelJohnson's role was dramatically cut. And I guess it's okay because, you know, this one takes place in the airports of Washington, D.C. He's a L.A. cop. But to give... And I love William Atherton, but they cut 95% of Reginald VelJohnson's role and gave it to William Atherton. And I like Atherton. His character is a scumbag and a sleazeball and enjoyable, but losing VelJohnson does hurt because his character is just so enjoyable because he's an enjoyable actor to watch, you know, and everything he's done. So the movie does take a little bit of a hit for that. It takes a little bit of a hit for the villain. I mean, because let's face it, Hans Gruber is such an iconic villain in the original that it's always going to be a slight step down. That being said, this movie basically has three main villains. Franco Nero, who's a legend, you know, the original Django. Obviously a legend in cinema. John Amos, who was pretty much a comedy guy before this. I mean, I remember him playing McDowell in Coming to America. But, you know, he becomes this, you know, smart-ass asshole who is not such a good guy that you might think he is. And then the main bad guy, who I'm a big fan of, William Sadler. You know, his roles in Tales from the Crypt Presents Demon Knight, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and maybe, actually, no, Bogus Journey. It's a sequel, Bogus Journey. I'm a fan of Sadler. That being said, they're not as cool as Hans Gruber. None of them. They're different bad guys. I mean, they're more calculated, more, you know, stone cold, whereas Hans is, you know, kind of laid back, kind of tries to be kind of kill you with kindness until he blows your head off for not answering his questions. So the movie takes a little bit of hit with the villains. They're great villains, and I appreciate how they take Die Hard, which was this really like claustrophobic movie, and they make it bigger, but it's still claustrophobic. Somehow, John McClane keeps getting into these really tight situations, but he manages to find his way out. So I appreciate the expansion of the character. It's hard to believe that the same thing can happen to the same character twice, but it's an action movie. You don't take it that seriously. Although they do try to ground the Die Hard movie in realism, which is, you know, something you have to appreciate. So, you know, this movie came out less than 2 years after the first one, you know, and that's kind of a common thing, I guess, for action movies in a sense. You know, if you feel you have a franchise, you go... You know, you can tend to rush it a little too much. I don't think that's the case. I do think that this was a well-told story. But I like that the second one and the third one had more of a gap. You know, you don't want to oversaturate your action hero to the public. That's what makes certain franchises work. That's what made Rambo work, is they weren't all just bam, 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 bam. You actually see character development, you know, from a physical standpoint, especially with characters like Stallone, who went from being, you know, Rocky 1 type, you know, good shape, not great, to just becoming this just chiseled specimen that's more fitting of an action star. Same with Terminator. You know, you see time. You get a little bit of time between the first, second, and really third movies helps the character. So, but being that he's a different character, it doesn't hurt him as much that it's such a quick turnaround. So again, I really like the opening up of the Die Hard universe and going to a bigger atmosphere while keeping a lot of the same claustrophobia that the first one had that worked so well. But the villains take a hit. Not a big one. I mean, I enjoy all three of the villains for different reasons, but they're no Hans Gruber. And losing Val Johnson hurts because his character was so enjoyable in the first one. So I gave the original, or the first Die Hard, a 7.5. That's a really good score for an action movie. This one's not going to be that far behind. It's still a solid action movie, and this is more of a Christmas movie than the first one, in my opinion. This one shows what Christmas is really like for a lot of people. The hell that you go through for traveling to make your family happy. So this is more of a Christmas movie, I feel, than the original. So the first one got a 7.5. This one gets a 7.3. It's not that far off. It's a quality action movie. Bruce Willis knocks it out of the park again as John McClane. It's a solid movie. You have to see it. I mean, if you've seen the first one, surely you've seen the second one. But if you haven't, go watch the franchise. The hell are you waiting for? You know, you're going to be entertained. Even though when we get to 4 and 5, they're still entertaining. They may not be as good, but they're still entertaining. So, Die Hard 2, Die Harder, still yippee-ki-yaying all night long. 7.3. Really good follow-up to the first one. That's my review. That's Series Review Monday. Next Monday, we'll be doing Die Hard 3, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Take care.